Okay, so now let's talk about chapter quizzes. Like before, and I forgot to do it on hands-on, so we could do both here. Hands-on accounts for 20%, and there's 11 of them. It's interesting, look at the difference, 18 and 81, huh? Okay, so moving on though. Chapter quizzes in YouTube research, which I'll talk about in a second, but first is 9 quizzes. And so each quiz is worth 1.11 because we also account in here the YouTube researches. So they all go together because it's 20% in this case. Okay. So now I'm going to go here. So let's go chapter quizzes. Again, a calendar can get you there as well, depending on how it's organized and what item you're looking for. Let's see, I think the first one's due. There we go. So there's the research and there is the chapter quiz. So somewhat like the classwork, when you click through the calendar, you get directly into the quiz, and if I hit begin, then I get a list of questions. Okay, so what we have here is 30 questions from the textbook. Of course, you really want to take, you can take this quiz multiple times. Right, there's not a time limit. There's just and it tells you can take it multiple times. It can be saved later. So in this case, I came in here, right? I showed you the different ways to get in. So now you can go through and look in the textbooks to start finding the answers, right? So that's the idea. So, but I'm going to stop for just a second and say this. We'll talk about SimNet in a little while, but one of the features of SimNet, and I'm going to go into SimNet, I'm going to go to resources, is the ebook. Okay, so the textbook ebook. I'm going to come into there. It says view resource. Now what happened here is that my browser blocked a pop-up and it told me here. So I'm going to say allow once, and then I'm going to click on it again, and now I'm going to come in. All right, so now I'm going to come into chapter 1, and what this shows me is a PDF file. Okay, so if you don't know PDF files, they're great. It's a standard document format file. So this is chapter 1. Now you might be saying, well, Rio, why are you talking about that in relationship to our topic of chapter quizzes? Well, here's why. Because in this case, you can, in these PDF files, search the PDF to try to help you find the answers to the questions. Now, I believe the best way to approach this is actually to read the entire chapter and then use the search to help you confirm, you know, what you believe is the answers. But I can't tell you how to approach this. I can only make suggestions, right? So going back here, however you do it, you go through and you start, and I'm not going to read the questions. I'm just going to, you know, and I of course don't recommend you do it this way. I'm really showing you this. I'm only going to pick the first one. This is to get through it. So I'm showing you this more from a Blackboard perspective, okay? So now that I've done that, I could save, and look what Blackboard does. It actually saves it as I go, which is a really nice feature, right? And what you can do is scroll to the bottom and say, save all my answers. Or you can say save and submit. So if I say save all my answers, and it gives you a little pop-up saying they've been saved, right? So what I want to show you here, I'm going to scroll back up to the top, is again, how it affects my grade. Now this is good. Blackboard is telling you, right, this test has not been submitted. So if we leave this test, which is fine, it's just telling you it hasn't been submitted. So let's go ahead and leave this page. And again, I clicked on my grade. That's how that happened. All right. So it gave me another message. And if I scroll down here, I can see, again, my in progress, right? So I'm going to go ahead and, now how do I go back? How do I go back into the quiz? You just go back to chapter quizzes. Oh, and that's the part I didn't actually show you when I was doing this, was the different ways these are organized, right? So now, and it doesn't matter, I can go back into chapter 1, and it can say it's saved, and then continue. And what this will show you is that it saved the answers that I had in here, right? It saved them. Now I'm going to pause for a second while I just select the top one on all of these, so hold on. Okay, so now that I've done them, Again, I don't recommend you doing it this way, but Blackboard is saving all of my answers, and now I can hit that save and submit, right? Oh, and this is kind of cool. Tells me if I've forgotten some, but I'll go ahead and click OK. I'll probably get a horrible score, one that's really embarrassing, but that's okay too, because I can take it again, right? And then if I click OK, after I do this, I get a listing of the questions, right? It tells me which ones I got wrong, which ones I got, and what the answers actually were, which is a way to help you study for taking it again. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. But like I like to show you, I'm going to go into my grade. I'm going to see the score that I got on the chapter quiz. And if I go into the chapter quiz, I can see this percentage and I can actually review it again. Okay? So because I don't like the score, I can do it again before the due date, of course. You can take it as many times as you want up until the due date. So you go chapter quiz, chapter, whichever one you're working on, begin it again, and now you get this message. It's already been taken. Click OK to see it, or take it again. Now the only one that I will care about is the last one you submitted into Blackboard. Okay, so this time I'm going to do this again, but this time I'll select the last question and then I'll show you what happens in the submission process. So hold on. Okay, so now I've done that same thing again as far as answering them, and this is where you will be doing the work to find the answers. I'm going to hit save and submit. Tells me again I forgot one, no big deal. Click OK. See my percentage, which is still horrible. You'll do better, I'm sure. Again, I'm going to go to my grade. Okay, so I'm going to go to my grade and I'm going to see that the last one showed up. Now how do I know that? Well, if I click on it, I will see that's the first one I took. That's the second one I took, and it's the second one, or what we call the last attempt, will be the one that actually shows up in Blackboard. Okay, so now again, you can take it multiple times. I want you to see how it shows up. Okay, and you have to complete it before the due date for that item. So if you go in here one more time, I just want to show you this. You hit begin, and you take it one more time, right? Okay. So in this case, let's say you were going to try it again, but you were going to try it later. If you save all answers, click OK. Now, if I go into my gradebook now, what do you think it'll show? And so hopefully you're thinking about this. I'm going to leave this page. What it should show is that we have, it's got the last one that's listed, but it does show an in progress, right? So here's what happens when I see this. What I see is that the last submission, which is the one I care about, was not complete. So what I do is I put a 0 in here. Let me simulate that. I'll pause it and so you can see. Okay, so I've now gone into the teacher side. I've looked at your item, right? So now here's what happened. Because you didn't complete that last submission, is the one I care about, what I say is you haven't completed the item. So I put an overriding grade on there. Again, that's why you can take it as many times as you want up until the due date. Oh, and by the way, every time you take it, you probably get new questions. Well, you will get new questions. So now, why is that important? It's sorry. So that's important because there's about a total of 150 questions per chapter. So the more times you take the quizzes, the more likely you'll see questions that will show up, you know, and you'll learn more, and you'll be preparing for the final that'll cover all the chapters. So it's good to know that. All right, so again, make sure if you start another submission, you complete it so that when I see it, I don't see this that you haven't completed it, because if I see you haven't, I'll put a 0 in there. Now, when I put a 0 in there, that does mean you can do it. You can go back in here, right? You can complete that last one you did, but that is considered late work. So you would need to complete it and then email me and ask for a late grade. Okay? All right, I hope that gives you some one other thing I want to say, sorry, about quizzes. The other thing you can do with quizzes, I'm going to open this in a new tab, okay, is you can also print these quizzes out. So the reason I opened it in a new tab is that if I now go to print, it will actually only give me, and actually I can even do it further, I can actually take this away so it gives me only the questions, and then I could print them out, or I could put them in a document and take it with me, answer the questions offline, and then come back and submit them to Blackboard. Okay, so that is another way that if you have time that you're setting and waiting and you want to work on something for this class, that is a way that you could do that. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.